asking me to do that. I was, oh yeah, that's a good idea, and so forth. Maybe in summer again, come up and talk to you and so forth. So I've always appreciated what you're talking about, this way of wanting to push us to do this. So I thought I would come down and share a story, and I'm glad that they're videotaping so that they can make it faster. This story is one of my favorites. I heard it from a Blackfoot man when I was out in Denver, Colorado. From the verbal part, anyway. John Doxtator wrote it, called the story of Jumping Mouse. I'm sure you've read the book. You see, a long time ago, there was this mouse. He lived on a hole in the ground. And by his home, there was a river that ran by that he could drink water. And that there was bushes to eat. And that he could eat that food when he was hungry. And this mouse, he didn't wander too far away from his home because of the water that was there to drink and the food that was there to eat. But one day, he come out of this hole in the ground, and he had heard a sound that was way out in the distance. And that sound touched his heart, and it yearned for him that he wanted to go to that sound. And about that time, Rabbit was going by, and he said, Rabbit, what is that sound that I hear that is way out in the distance? This mouse. That's a river. Well, mouse, he didn't know what a river was, but the yearning was so powerful, so strong that he wanted to go to that river. And so he started out on this journey the first time that he had ever walked away from his home, that hole in the ground. And as he's walking by the stone, magical frog is not a stone. The magical frog, he said, Jumping Mouse, it's about time that you're on your journey. Mouse looked at the magical frog and he said, my name is not Jumping Mouse. My name is Mouse. It's Jumping Mouse. You see that mountain that is many, many days away. He said, that's your journey, that you go to that mountain. Well, Jumping Mouse kind of looked around to that mountain that he'd seen that was so many, many days away, and he looked around the magical frog and he was gone. And then again he heard that sound that was way out in the distance, that yearning still up in his heart. It was powerful. And so he continued towards what they call this river. When he got to that river, there was his cousin who ran, who was very, very fast. His cousin says, cousin, come sit underneath the mushroom. Protection, shadow above. So there's this river here we can drink when we're dry. There's berries here to eat when we're hungry. We can talk and visit with one another. And so he did. He sat down and he drank some water from the river. He ate some berries from the bush. They were protected underneath the mushroom in the shadow up above. They talked and they visited. But all of a sudden that yearning became even stronger. You see that mountain that was many, many days away. And so he turned to his cousin Rat, who's very, very fast. He said, it's time for me to leave now. Go to that mountain. I said, no, stay here. The water is here for us to drink when we are dry. The berries are here to eat when we are hungry. We're protected from the shadows above. We can visit some more. Jumping Mouse says no. And so they say their goodbyes. He crosses the river on the stone. When he gets to the other side, he wants to turn around and say goodbye to his cousin. There's a snake coming up out of the water. That makes Jumping Mouse feel really sad. But he continues on, and he gets to the edge of the woods, and all he sees is land. And he knows already that this is where the shadows are. And so he starts to run, not too fast and not too slow, to save his energy. And sure enough, not before too long, there's a shadow. And it gets bigger and bigger. And Jumping Mouse, as he starts to run faster and faster, and way ahead, he sees this huge stone, and he thinks that if he can just make it, that he'll be safe under the stone, and he runs faster and faster, and the shadow is getting bigger and bigger, and the stone is getting closer and closer, and he's running as fast as he can, and he can feel the hot breath on the back of his neck, and just before the shadow gets him, he runs into the stone. His heart is beating, and for the first time, he remembers his home, how safe it was. He starts to cry, and his heart beating fast, slowing down, kind of stops crying and so forth. And pretty soon he still hears that sound. It's coming like from all around him. And so he climbs up from underneath that stone and goes to the front of it, this huge animal. He said, "What is your name?" "My name is Buffalo." What are you doing here?" "Buffalo, I'm very, very old. And I've lost my sight. So I'm here sitting on the plains, just waiting to die. I don't want to walk off the cliff and so forth." Well, this makes Jumping Mountain really sad. And so he thinks to himself, he says, "Buffalo, I give you a gift of sight." And at that very moment, Buffalo can see. And at that very moment, Jumping Mountain goes blind. And so Buffalo stands up and he's got these really young eyes, and he looks around, and he's very appreciative of Jumping Mountain, the gift that he gives him. And so he tells him to run in between his hooves, and he will take him in the direction that he's going to that mountain that is many, many days away. And so he does. And when they get to the bottom of that mountain, they say their thank yous and they say their goodbyes. And Jumping Mountain, he knows that that Buffalo can't go in. So Jumping Mountain, he starts climbing that mountain, and he's walking very slowly and very cautiously because he can't see. And pretty soon he hears the sound of rustling leaves. And he becomes scared. He stops. He hears a voice. "Don't be afraid. My name is Wolf. And I misused my gift of hearing. So it was taken from me, so I can't hear. So I won't harm you." This makes Jumping Mountain very, very sad. And so he thinks to himself and he says, "Wolf, I give you a gift, an ear." And at that very moment, Wolf can hear with very young ears. And he listens all along to the sounds. And at that very moment, Jumping Mountain goes deaf. And so Wolf, he picks him up, he puts him on his back, and he takes him to the top of that mountain. And he sets him down, and he gives his thanks to Jumping Mountain. And Jumping Mountain is standing on the top of that mountain, and the wind is going through his face and back. And again he remembers his home. His hole in the ground. The water used to go by it. The bushes was there to eat when he was hungry. And pretty soon he hears that voice of magical frog. "Jump, Jumping Mountain. Jump off the mountain." And Jumping Mountain, he thinks about this and that voice that he hears in his head, and he knows that he can't go back. And so listening to that voice, he jumps off the mountain. And as he's falling to his death, he thinks about his home and how safe it was, and that journey that he's been on, the water that ran by, food that was there to eat. When he's falling to his death, he hears that sound of magical frog, and he tells him, "Jumping Mountain, move your paws, move your paws." And Jumping Mountain starts to move his paws very slowly. Jumping Mountain, open your eyes, open your eyes. And as the ground is coming up closer, Jumping Mountain is going faster. He's moving his paws and he opens his eyes. The magical frog says, "How do you like your new name?" Got it.